It is Monday, and I thought I would do a little Monday morning in my life, kind of like what I do to get out of bed and go about my morning as someone who's definitely not a morning person, but I've been trying to be better about it. So I just got up, it's 7:15, and first thing I'm gonna do is make the bed. I really started doing this mostly because it just discourages me from hopping right back in bed. I love laying in bed. It really started clicking for me like about a month ago that if I wanted to get out of bed in the morning, I need to have some sort of activity that I like and enjoy more than laying in bed in order to like actually get me up. And so I really love matcha, and I've been enjoying like having a little ritual of making a little drink in the morning. So anyways, I'm gonna make the bed really quick and then we're gonna get going. These lounge shorts from Amazon are probably my favorite lounge shorts that I found. I really like that they don't like hug your butt. They're just like nice and loose and flowy. Very comfy. I think they're made of modal, so they're just like a really good lounge short. Anyway, bed is now made, which also feels really good at the end of the day when you get back into bed, I will say. So now we're gonna go make my little latte. Kind of another side note, I was noticing when I charged my phone by the side of my bed that I would just inevitably go to bed scrolling and then wake up and first thing I would do is just like open up my apps and like scroll, and it's really just not good for me from like a mental health standpoint and also from a productivity standpoint, because then I would just like spend way too long in the morning scrolling and then my whole morning routine would get messed up. So what I actually started doing is I started charging my phone. This is my little like phone charging station. I started charging my phone in my office and I go in and out of being pretty consistent with it, and I just for the last few weeks wasn't doing that and was just really starting to notice the effects of it. So this week I decided to really just start doing that again. I guess just to say that if you are somebody who's like trying to create good habits in your life and you like do really well for a while and then you don't do well for a while, like I think that's okay. And like phones are really hard because we're kind of made to feel like we need our phones, especially like in our society and culture. And there's so many things that we can do on our phones now that it can just feel hard to like put it in a separate room at night before you go to bed. But I do definitely notice that when I charge my phone in my office, I have just better mental health overall. I'm less distracted. I'm less like depressed, honestly, like when I get up in the morning and I'm not like getting up and scrolling first thing. And it also allows me to get a lot more done in the morning. So anyways, also I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I really tend to accumulate beverages at the side of my bed. Trying to be better about that. My husband is much tidier than me, but oh well. So I just got the water started boiling. This is my little matcha making set. I just got this off of Amazon, and I feel like more so than trying to be super technical about making matcha, because like I'm not pretending to be an expert on it, it does make the morning ritual feel a little bit more special. And I like that I'm doing something like slow with my hands, especially being that like I work on social media and so I'm on my phone a lot throughout the day, and so it really helps me to have activities that are like slow and screen free just to like help my brain. So that's why I got this little set, and then it also comes with the little scoop for the matcha. And then this is the matcha that I currently use. So this is the ceremonial grade matcha that I use. I just got this off of Amazon. It had pretty good reviews and I really like it. So there's that. And then this was the original matcha that I was using, and I didn't realize that it's actually matcha powder mixed with sugar. So this is like already sweetened, and so it's not pure matcha. But I do like to mix them together because this has like just enough sweetener in it to where if I put a scoop of this and a scoop with this, it kind of like hits my ideal level of sweetness. I don't really like things to be very sweet really at all. So yeah, that's just my preference. So I'm not super precise with it, but I'll just do kind of like a scoop in the bowl of the ceremonial grade matcha. And then I'll do a little scoop of the sweet matcha, just like that. And then I take some hot water. I do have a smart kettle, so I boil it to 165, which is I think the recommended temperature for matcha. And then I just kind of pour a little bit in, like not very much at all, honestly, just enough to get it wet and get it to like dissolve a little bit, but like still keep the matcha itself pretty concentrated. And then you take the whisk and you just whisk it up And I usually do a few stirs a little bit more gently, just to kind of get the matcha mixed in, and then you want to like whisk it pretty fast to try to like foam it up. I'm not really sure why you do this, honestly. I just, in all the videos that I've seen of like the matcha experts, this is what they do. I usually find that it's easier to whisk to get it foamy, kind of like back and forth like this rather than in a circular fashion. It's also a little bit less messy if you whisk it that way. Once that is all whisked, you can see it's like nice and foamy now, so that's kind of like what we're going for. And then I always wash my whisk right away because I made the mistake of letting this sit and dry once before washing it, and it was the hardest thing to clean. So like you always want to wash it when the hot water is like still fresh on it. So now we get started on the latte. I've been doing iced matcha lattes because it's summertime, and I've really been enjoying strawberry matcha, and so I just made my own strawberry puree. This is strawberries with also some raspberries that I had that are just blended up in some water. If you want it to be sweeter, you can also add sugar to it, but mine does not have any sugar in it because I don't like things to be super sweet. And I take my glass. This is a glass that I got off of Amazon. I really like it because it's double walled, and so it keeps the condensation from like forming around your glass, which is like more of like a sensory thing for me that I don't like, and then it also like insulates your drink a little bit. I just take the strawberry puree and I pour some in the bottom, and I'm not super exact with the measurements, but I usually just make sure that I don't go past this first kind of like a rib in the glass. And then once that's in there, then I put my ice in. That's probably good. And then I do the milk. I've been enjoying coconut milk, but I also sometimes do oat milk if I want it to be like a little bit creamier. And I pour it like until it's like pretty close to the top, because the matcha is not actually going to add that much liquid to the drink. And then I take the matcha that has been whisked and just pour it over the top here. So that's really all there is to it. And then I just take a little straw. I got these straws from another set of glasses that I got on Amazon, and I just kind of stir it up. I love stirring it and just like watching the colors mix. And then I taste it, and that's pretty good. That's just how I like it. It's like got a tinge of sweetness from the matcha powder, but it's mostly more just like tangy from the strawberry puree and then just the matcha flavor, which I love. So that's my latte. Now let's go journal. I usually like to set the ambiance a little bit, so I lit a little candle. This is like one of those woodwick candles that crackles when it's burning, which I love the sound of. And then sometimes I like to put music on, and sometimes I just like to have our little patio door open and just listen to the sound of the birds, because we actually have a lot of birds in our backyard in the mornings. So there's a lot of like bird song, and there's actually been some studies that have been done that have shown that bird song is like actually really good for your nervous system and just kind of like regulating. So sometimes I just like to listen to the birds and just kind of like the morning peace. I think today I'm gonna put a little bit of like instrumental music on because it's like a little bit cloudy and gloomy out, and so I feel like that'll help my mood, cheer me up a little bit. Reading and journaling a little bit. When I was growing up, I used to write in my diary literally every single day. It was like, I don't know, just something I liked to like write about, all the things that were happening in my life, and it just felt helpful to like process everything that way. And then I kind of went through a season in adulthood where I journaled a lot less and like didn't write as much, and I still don't journal like as much as I used to, but I do find that it is just like helpful space sometimes to kind of like process, quiet my mind, especially on Mondays. I can wake up with like a lot of anxiety about like my to-do list for the week and like everything that I have to get done, and it can feel like you have to get it all done in one day. I don't know, our culture just has so much like anxiety and hurry and like loudness built into it, and I think it's like important to create space to have quietness so that you can actually process and like live your life from a place of like peace and from a place of like knowing who you are, rather than just kind of like giving into like the fears and anxieties of the world. So anyways, yeah, I always am like telling myself that I don't have time on Mondays to journal and give myself space because I have those like to-do lists running through my mind. But after I do it and after I give myself some time to journal a little bit and like slow down, I always end up feeling so much better, and I go into my day with a much more positive attitude, and I almost always end up having a more productive day anyways. So really enjoyed my journaling time this morning. Normally I try to work out in the mornings because if I leave my workout for the afternoon, I don't do it. But I woke up a little bit later today, and so I'm thinking I will just try to work out in the afternoon and like schedule that in when I do my time blocking today. I haven't really worked out much for the last few weeks, and I really want to get back into it because moving my body is like also very important to my mental health and just like me feeling better overall. So I think I'm gonna work out later in the day and just go ahead and like get started with my day, get into my office and do my like time blocking and week planning that I do at the beginning of every week, and I'll kind of like show you guys what I do for that. As I am walking into my office, I'm also realizing that it is quite messy. I have been trying to get into the habit of doing like a 20-minute clean at the end of every day and then maybe a little bit longer on Fridays so that my office is clean, because coming into a clean office on Mondays is very conducive to my productivity, but I just didn't get to it this week, and so I kind of have stuff like all over the floor. And so I think actually what I'm gonna do before I get into my week planning is just give myself some time really quick to like clean my office, because having a clean office really just like helps my mental space so much. So we're gonna do that. Cleaning my office. Feels so much better having a clean space. Now I'm gonna get into my week planning process and my time blocking process. I wanted to show you guys how I do this because it is so helpful. I used to kind of like schedule my time, like especially when I started doing content creation full time and I was just like working for myself and didn't really have somebody feeding me tasks that I needed to do every day. I started like scheduling my time really specifically hour by hour, and I found that that gave me a lot of anxiety because if I ever got behind, I would just like kind of feel anxious throughout the day. And so instead what I started doing is time blocking. So I kind of break my day up into blocks. So I give myself like 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. for like morning routine, workout, getting ready, like all of that stuff. And then I do a 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. block and then a 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. block. And I just kind of like write a list of the things that I want to get done in those time blocks. The way that I do this is actually on Google. So if you have a Gmail account, which I feel like if you don't have a Gmail account, like what are you doing actually? There's so many useful features, but so this is like the page that I pull up every single morning. But basically what I do is on this side of your Google. So like you can do this in your Gmail account or in like any sort of Google app. So like I use my Sheets as like my calendar. So you can do it in any of the apps, but there's going to be this bar on the side with all these other apps. What I like to use is the Keep app. So this is Google Keep. And basically what I do is I have a little sticky note for each day of the week. And at the end of each week, usually like on Fridays, I'll kind of like take anything that I didn't get done throughout the week and I'll toss it back into my Monday. And so this is all stuff that I've just thrown in here that I have to schedule for the week. And then I basically just like block my time out for the week. So usually 6:37 is when I get up and I have like my morning routine workout, which I didn't do today. I'm gonna do that later today. So I'll actually toss that down here. Okay, so now is my next block of time. And I'll basically look and see what I have to do today and like this week and schedule it in. And I generally use like the same kind of schedule every single day. So I'll just kind of like copy paste to all of the days and then I will fill it in with all of my tasks that I have to do. Okay, so then once I kind of have this generally planned out, you can actually switch to calendar tab. So there's a little calendar tab up here. And then I can actually see if I have anything throughout the week. So I have my husband's calendar in here and then all the pink stuff and yellow stuff is mine. And I can kind of just like take a glance, look at the week. So like I have a meeting tomorrow at 6 a.m. Yuck. And I can kind of just like look through the week and see like what I have. So then I can go back to my Keep page and okay, so this is going to be affected because I have that meeting. Okay, so now I'm gonna look at kind of the tasks that I have in here and schedule them throughout the week. So I won't show you guys this part because it's kind of monotonous, but basically the idea is you just take like each chunk of time and you think about like what you want or need to get done during the day for that time. And then that is how I schedule everything. So, okay, so I finished doing all of my week planning for the week. So this is kind of like what my schedule looks like. So that is how I organize myself for the week. And then what I love is that once you're kind of like done with things, you can just delete
delete them. Yeah, it just really helps me like stay organized. It doesn't give me the anxiety of doing kind of like an hour by hour schedule of what I need to get done. And then the reason also I love doing this at the beginning of the week is because, like I said, on Mondays, I always have kind of like a big to-do list running through my head and it gives me a lot of anxiety. And so writing everything out and kind of just like brain dumping and getting everything that I have to do this week actually out and scheduled allows me to free up some mental space in my mind to where I'm not just like anxiously thinking about stuff that I have on my to-do list, because I know that it's like planned out for the rest of the week. So I love doing this at the beginning of every single week. It just like helps me so much, helps minimize anxiety, keeps me organized, and it's just like amazing. So I highly recommend trying it if you have not tried time blocking yet. But yeah, that's basically my little morning routine, how I start my Mondays. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with my day, get ready, and get into this week of work. But I hope this was helpful for you guys, especially if you're like me and you're not a morning person. These are just some things that I have done that have helped me just have better mornings and be a little bit more productive. So if you liked this, I am gonna start doing more vlogs, I think. So let me know in the comments if there's any specific types of vlogs that you want to see, and like and subscribe if you want to see more. But thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.